You know the story, right? Two people who absolutely cannot stand each other get thrown together and bam, sparks start to fly. So let's dive into the secret formula behind enemies to lovers, because it's hands down one of the most popular and long-lasting tropes out there.
But here's the thing, and it's super important to get this right from the jump. We're not talking about real, nasty, cruel hatred here. Like writer Anna E. Collins says, for this whole thing to work, there's gotta be something else underneath it all. It's this really delicate dance, between the fighting and this hidden, maybe even subconscious attraction.
So what is it about this setup that just gets us hooked? Well, let's break down some of the classic patterns you see everywhere, from your favorite books to the biggest movies. Okay, picture this, and I bet you've seen it a million times. Two rival chefs, right? They absolutely despise each other's cooking styles. And boom, now they have to share a kitchen. You just know the heat in there isn't just coming from the ovens.
Or hey, how about this one? An investigative journalist goes undercover on some reality TV show, but then she starts falling for the main guy. I mean, her goal is to expose him, and his is, well, not to be exposed. That creates instant high-stakes drama.
And it's not just in rom-coms. We see it in big action stories, too. You've got the con woman and the cop, forced to team up on some wild cross-country road trip. One lives to break the law, the other lives to uphold it. That's just a perfect recipe for chaos and, you guessed it, connection.
But look, this is nothing new, not by a long shot. I mean, we're talking about Shakespeare's Beatrice and Benedict verbally duking it out, or Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy with all their Pride and Prejudice. This formula has been grabbing audiences for centuries. Its appeal is just timeless.
Okay, but we need to get a little more specific here because not all enemies are the same. There's a whole spectrum. So let's break down the two main flavors of conflict that really drive these stories. So, on one hand, you have your capital E enemies. Think like warring families, huge ideological differences, some really high-stakes stuff. But on the other hand, you've got rivals. This is more about competition, maybe professional tension, like two people trying to get the same job. The stakes might feel a bit different, but trust me, that tension is just as good.
And here's the secret sauce, really. The conflict has to be deep enough to create real tension. It can't be something silly, and this is a big but, it can't be some impossible moral barrier they can never cross. It has to be something that can be broken down, bit by bit, as the characters start to grow and see each other differently.
So how do writers actually do that? How do they build that tension while also building a connection? Well, one of the biggest tools in the writer's toolbox is witty banter. Let's get into the ingredients.
All right, so first up, you've got the tease. These are those light, playful jabs, just testing the waters. Then you might get some self-deprecating digs. This is great because it shows a little vulnerability, makes the characters feel more real. Then comes the puns and wordplay, which, let's be honest, is just a super clever way to flirt. But the real kicker, that moment of surprising honesty. It's when one of them just drops the act for a second and says something real, something that deepens the whole conversation. And finally, it all has to have speed. The dialogue needs to be quick and snappy to feel energetic and natural.
But let's be real, all that fast talking and witty banter, it's kind of a smokescreen, isn't it? The really important stuff is what's happening underneath all those words. The real magic is in the subtext. And that brings us to, the number one rule of great storytelling. You've probably heard it before, show, don't tell. And it's a classic for a reason. So instead of just flat out telling us these two secretly like each other, a great writer shows us. They trade a boring statement for an actual experience, so we get to put the pieces together. So they don't say he was angry, they say his jaw tightened.
Yeah, think of it like this. Telling is like someone grabbing a megaphone and just shouting, hey, these two are secretly attracted to each other. It gets the point across, I guess, but it's not exactly romantic. Showing, on the other hand, is the real art. It's about painting a picture so you can feel that spark for yourself.
Okay, here's a perfect example. We could just tell you, Dave thought Brenda was acting secretive. Kind of boring, right? But what if we show you? Brenda slammed the dresser drawer shut and spun around, hiding her hands behind her back. Dave, I didn't think you'd be home until 6. See? All of a sudden, you're in the room. You feel the tension. You see the secret. So that leads to the million-dollar question for our enemies to lovers stories, right? If these characters are always fighting and saying how much they can't stand each other, how in the world does a writer show us what's really going on?
Well, they use a kind of secret language. It's not in what they say, it's in everything else. It's in that glance across the room that lasts just a little too long. It's in that accidental touch that sends sparks flying. It's in that one protective gesture in a crowd. Or those little inside jokes that create a whole world just for the two of them. These are the clues that tell us the real story.
And all of this, the conflict, the banter, the secret looks, it's all building to one of the absolute best payoffs in storytelling, the slow burn.
So a slow burn romance is basically the complete opposite of love at first sight. This isn't about some instant zap of connection. No, this is about building a fire, one piece of kindling at a time. The whole point is to build this deep emotional foundation, which is what makes that final confession feel like this huge earned victory. And honestly, there's a kind of genius to it. All those obstacles and misunderstandings and those almost moments, they aren't just there to drag things out. They actually force the characters to build real trust and emotional intimacy first. It's like a trial by fire that proves their connection is solid long before romance even enters the picture.
So by the time they finally get together, it doesn't feel rushed or random. It feels completely earned. We, the audience, have been on this whole roller coaster with them. We saw the arguments, we saw the growth, so the relationship feels inevitable and just so satisfying because we know exactly what they went through to get there. So what is it, really, that makes a love story that starts with so much conflict so unforgettable? Is it the tension, the transformation of the characters, or is it just that feeling of triumph when they finally get past their own pride and find each other? Whatever that magic ingredient is, it's clear that a love story born from conflict is often the one that sticks with us the most.